Mr. Gray, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Mr. Hammond is giving you the details on timing and our process. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're going to be taking notes while you're talking, so we probably will not be at 100% eye contact, so we apologize for that.
No problem. No issues.
Go ahead, John.
Right. Thank you for being interested enough in public education to come out on a night like tonight. It is wet, it's nasty, and right now, public education in Louisiana needs more support, in my opinion, than it's ever needed. It is being besieged and battled on every end, so thank you from that standpoint. Quickly, my name is David Gray. I've been married to my wife, Belinda, for 36 years. I have 2 sons that I'm extremely proud of, 123, 120. They used to be my favorites. My oldest son has recently got married, and I found my favorite. It's my daughter. I'm the luckiest human being on the planet. She is incredible. She keeps my oldest son in line, and that's something I wasn't able to do for several years. So, with that said, I came to education later in life. Originally, I was in private industry at Home Depot. The reason I believe that I could be a good fit here and would be a good fit here is because of experience. I'm not necessarily talking about the number of years, but I'm talking about some experiences I've had in my own personal life. With Home Depot, quite honestly, my first managerial position was replacing someone that was fired, cleaning up a mess. As in education, I'll fast forward. In education, my first principalship was to take over a school over Easter break that was, to my knowledge, the only school in Louisiana that ever made international news. And it was a mess to clean up, but I was chosen to do that. Originally, I went in with the attitude, I'm going to do what I've been asked to do. Would definitely return to the school that I had been assistant principal at. Fell in love with those kids, fell in love with that area, and when it was time to apply, I applied, I got the position, and I remained there for another 3 or 4 years. After that, I was asked to go to Farmville High School. It was a failing school. Discipline was atrocious, just being completely honest with you. In a period, I was there for more than 4 years. I was there for about 6. But over a 4-year period, actually the last 3 years is when everything kicked in and made a difference. We were able to raise the school performance score from a very low D to a B, a gain of almost 40 points. I championed a process that we'll probably talk about at some point tonight called the professional learning community process. Please don't confuse it with the acronym PLCs, because that acronym has become so watered down. Now it's to the point, if you and I have a conversation by a water cooler, we just had a PLC and we accomplished something. And the truth is, if kids aren't learning better than they would otherwise have, you haven't accomplished anything. You wasted time. The professional learning community process is specific. Quite honestly, the state is now adopting something very, very similar to the process. Also, an experience, 19 months ago, I became superintendent of Morehouse Parish. I was told going in, we're great on money. Everything is wonderful. Only to find out that we would be bankrupt in February. We would be insolvent in February, and if spending continued, we would accrue about a $1.2 million debt if we were spending about $3.4 million more a year than we had, to be honest with you. Took some extreme measures, didn't have a choice. You've got to pay the bills. If you're going to have doors open for kids to come to school, you've got to be able to pay the bills. So was forced to close 2 schools, reconfigure 3 others, and lay off 50 employees over Christmas break. Now, let that sink in for just a second. You just ruined 50 families' Christmas and was able to, through team effort, through trying to work with the community, through trying to get interviews for the people that were laid off, doing everything in our power to take care of those people and let them know that we still cared about them. And they were certainly part of the team, but it was something that had to be done. We were able to pull through that. And actually, our goal, just being completely honest with you, Our goal was to end the year at 0. As long as we weren't in the red, just if we can end at 0. And we actually wound up putting about $92,000 towards a 7.5% fund balance. This year we're scheduled to probably increase that to $350,000. And basically, as you told your children, you have to crawl before you walk, and you have to walk before you run. Right now, we're at least in the process of starting to crawl, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Also, implemented the PLC process there. I am fortunate in Morehouse Parish that I have 3 former educators on the board of 7, and through putting this process together and being able to take the entire board to a symposium this summer, they actually came back and voted to have what we call a short Tuesday. In other words, on Tuesday, we dismiss kids an hour earlier so that teachers have the opportunity to collaborate, to talk, to know, 1, what is absolutely critical for our kids to know and be able to do. 2, how are we going to know if they're learning it? 3, what are we going to do if they're not? And 4, what are we going to do for those kids that have learned it? How are we going to enrich that experience? How are we going to carry it forward? That process, the PLC process, has to happen during the course of the contractual day. If I ask you as a teacher, I want you to stay late a day a week, or I want you to come in early a day a week, you may do it, but you're going to come to resent it. Let's be honest. All right? It has to happen within the course of your contractual day. It cannot replace your planning period. It cannot replace the time that you have to do otherwise what you need to do as a teacher. It's also a process. I firmly believe, I completely believe, the only reason I've ever had success in anything I've done is building a family, building a team, shared vision, shared motivations, shared ideals of where we want to go. And that leadership team has to be built in schools. It has to be built at every level, where people are able to know their voice counts for something, someone is absolutely listening to them, and someone is trying to make informed decisions. You can't make a decision for somebody every time they say this is what we want. But it's amazing if they know their voice was heard and they know that they have an opportunity to be part of the leadership of that school. It's incredible the results people will get. Free thumbnail, that's who I am. Would love to answer any questions you have. And I do apologize, I do want to say this. I tend to get very excited when we talk about education. Usually I'm not like this. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I'm a lot calmer. But when we start talking about kids, we start talking about education, I tend to get animated, and I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not going to yell at you. If I get too loud, just say, tone it down a little bit, and I'll be happy.
Mr. Gray, in front of you, you have some questions on the podium. And when we read these questions, you'll have the opportunity to actually see them in print.
Okay.
And Mr. Warner, can you lead us on?
Yes, sir. Thank you, first of all, for your application. And my question is, what is the biggest, okay, let me redo this. What is the biggest barrier in education today, and how will you work to foster students through the split barriers?
In my opinion, it's poverty. Poverty, bar none. When you have kids coming from poverty, they're coming in behind. Let's make no mistake about this. Every child can learn. Every child can learn at high levels. But when they come in behind the barrier, when they come to you, they're already behind. And you expect them to perform at the same level as every other child, and you don't give them the supports that they need. You don't give them the ability to be successful, they're probably going to fail. I hate saying that, but the truth is they will probably fail. You've got to build those supports in. That's where PLCs come in. That's where, okay. Part of something I didn't tell you is we're going to, this is the process of PLCs. On Monday, my math teachers have a carved out period of time that they're able to meet. They're teaching the same subject area. They know what it is they have to teach. Now they're able to get together and talk. During that time, all the other children are able to be pulled back to certain areas. So you have a priority day. For instance, on math, on Mondays, that's the day the math department meets. However, it's English priority day. So during that time, and I know this sounds like a gospel church radio program, but I gave it to my school leadership team and I said, come up with the name for it. They called it Power Hour. That's fine. Power Hour is what it is. That's what we're going to do. We're going to empower these kids. So on Mondays, English teachers had choice of anybody in that school they wanted. If they felt like there was something that a child wasn't learning or needed help in, they were able to call that child back to them and say, okay, let's go back through it again. On Tuesdays, English met, and it was math priority day, and it worked that way through the course of the, through the course of the week. So they met 1 hour every week to be able to answer those questions we just got to be talking about. What do these kids have to know? How are we going to know if they're learning it? 2, what are we going to do if they're not? And I'm sorry, that was 3. And then 4, what are we going to do for those kids that have learned it? How are we going to enrich that experience? My youngest son, the way you do it is you take all the kids and you divide them out by the non-core academic teachers. All right? Now, you may have an ag teacher that has 42 kids assigned to them. That's where they're assigned. But if you place a number, every teacher is required to pull 10, 15 kids, then they don't have 42 children with them. So if you have a child that is, in my case, my youngest was not college bound. He informed me of that very early, smart enough to go, but he did jump start, he did welding, and he's making a great living now. But he got his voter's registration license, he got his hunting license, the ag teacher was teaching all of these subjects. All right. So that's how we want to break through that barrier. And in my opinion, the barrier is possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any follow-up, then? Follow.
We have a large African-American student population here in Natchez Parish. How do you foresee enhancing meaningful administrative positions for qualified African-Americans throughout our parish?
Okay. If you will look through my resume, my experience is in education through Union Parish and Morales Parish, both of which are minority, both of which have the largest majority is African-American students. You've got the culture, and when I say culture, I know I'm using that as a verb, but you have to culture people for leadership. You have to be able to take people that otherwise wouldn't be willing to step out and take a chance. You've got to grow those people the same as you do students. It is amazing when you give somebody an opportunity and you give them the empowerment to make a difference in somebody's life, what they can do. And you constantly, and I'm sure you're aware of this, nobody's going into education anymore. If you think you're going to fire your way to a successful school, or you're going to suspend your way to a successful school, you are going to be an abysmal failure. You've got to take the people you have, and you have to allow them to grow and use them to the very best of their abilities. Because unfortunately, my personnel director just went to a job fair, and there was 10 people in the university that came through from the Department of Ed, that had gone through the Department of Ed. Nobody's going to education. You're going to have to figure some things outside the box, and you have to work with the people you have to empower them, to get them to realize that they are capable of so many more things than they otherwise would have thought.
And of that 10, how many of them were people of color?
All 10 was the ground.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah, now,
Okay.
honestly, what they had to do was start flagging down other people. Obviously, you're not in education, but if you're in business administration, there's opportunities to teach business administration. So what about coming to work for us and possibly going back as an alternate route and becoming certified? Same thing, there was someone that was pursuing biology. If you want to teach, what about teaching biology? You just got to get outside the box. You've got to be creative, because I can't tell you, I don't have the time to tell you, teachers that I've hired that I've had to work special deals with to explain If you will just come and start teaching, we can help you through the process of going back and getting your certification, as long as you're in the program. And some of those teachers have been extremely successful. Actually, Kyle, because we are closest to Louisiana Tech, 1 year I didn't have a chemistry teacher. So actually I called the Department of Chemistry and spoke to Dr. Dees and said, send me a starting graduate student. Send me somebody that is in graduate school and simply either doesn't have the money to finish right now or struggling. I'll let them teach me during the day. They can take the night classes, or they can just lay out for a while. That teacher is now a high school chemistry teacher in the state of Louisiana. She decided not to pursue a PhD. She went to a classroom. She fell in love teaching high school kids, and that's what she's doing today. You got to think outside the box.
Mr. Stanton, any follow, excuse me, any follow?
What is your experience with budgets, and what process will you use to prepare a budget?
Experience is formally through business, formally through Home Depot, as well as, believe it or not, high school principals have to have a budget now. And obviously, as a current superintendent, zero-based budget. Zero-based budget. I believe in that. I believe it's the best way to go. And for me personally, I just don't see a better way of doing it.
Okay. How would you handle a yearly deficit? I know you talked about that just a minute ago and touched on it. And what items would you review on your budget?
Depends on the size of the deficit, and depends on the size of the fund balance. If it's something that we can work through this year, no problem, but we're losing money, I would personally, I want an efficiency expert. I either want to bring in Lean Frog, I want to bring in a consultant. That's what they do. I have some experience with budgets. That's not my forte. I'm not an expert. That isn't my area. Many times in education, what you wind up with are former teachers, and that's the way I still introduce myself, by the way. Somebody asks me, what do you do? I'm a teacher. I mean, that's in my heart. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. All right. Absolutely love doing it. But reach out to the person that is that expert, that can come in and help you achieve the most efficient model possible, that can look at, for instance, transportation and say, you know what, you're double dipping right here, and there's ways we can save you money. All right. To me, that's the best approach. Now, obviously, if you're facing a crisis situation, you have some really hard decisions to make, and that's when you bring your team in, you sit down, and you just go over, let's talk about every avenue, let's talk about every possibility, and let's decide what we're going to come back and present to a board and say, this is our recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any follow-up on budget question? Mr. Gates?
Good evening. How would you ensure that all your teachers complete cultural diversity training?
It's extremely important. This is a sore point in some areas, but I believe in it 100% of being a teacher, being an educator. Kids from poverty usually do not grow up to be teachers. Most teachers come from middle of the road. They come from middle-class families or upper-class families. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've never completely lived in poverty. However, I've talked about it, I've studied it, I've learned as much as I possibly can. And I think if you're going to teach, all of the kids aren't going to be from poverty, but they're the ones that are going to struggle the most. And if you don't understand what that child's going through, if you don't understand where they're coming from, if you don't understand the cultural values, you're never going to reach them. Bar none, you're not. It's a matter of trust they have to have with you. They have to expect you to have their back, if at all possible. They have to want you to absolutely care about them, but you got to believe in them, and you got to prove to them, you got to earn their trust. And that is through, as far as I'm concerned, the diversity training that you're talking about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any follow-up? Mr. Gray, if you're hired, what potential is there for you bringing in your own support staff?
Very low. Very low. I mean, I could, but would I ever take this job under the assumption that I'm going to replace people with other people that I think is better? Never. Never. The day I can remember many years ago, standing in front of my faculty as a principal saying, if you think you can do this by yourself, you can't. You're going to fail. Things are now too complicated. It's too hard. You've at least got to have a partner in crime. You've got to have somebody that you can count on to be with you, to listen to you, to work through this with you. That's really what led me to the PLC process in the beginning, to be honest with you, that collaboration. You have got to build a team, and that team has to be built on trust. The one thing that allowed me to be successful, in my opinion, at Morehouse, and what we had to do, didn't have a choice. I mean, there were people sitting in the room that had family members who were losing their jobs. There were people that had graduated from schools that we were closing. And for that team to absolutely trust one another and respect one another, knowing we're doing this for the right reasons, because it has to be done. It has to be done with kids. The most important thing we do every day is educate kids. That's why we have to do it. So I would hesitantly bring some people, being quite honest with you. If there was a specific area that is like, we really need somebody because we currently don't have anyone that's certified for that position or whatever, there's opportunities for me to bring people. That's certainly not my wish.
Okay.
Being honest with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Phelps?
Mr. Gray, what steps would you take to evaluate the current leadership positions within the central office? And please provide a time when you had to repurpose an employee to move to a more productive position.
As a new superintendent in a position, anyone will tell you you're supposed to wait a year. You're absolutely supposed to observe for a year, pay attention for a year before you make moves. I believe in that. I do. When the opportunity is such that you can. All right. I'll be completely honest with you. As the second week of my employment in Morehouse as superintendent, I had to replace the principal. Looking at the school performance scores that had just tanked over a period of 3 years, having talked to someone from the State Department that literally said they would never set foot back in that school because of the filth, because of the stench. Our kids deserve more than that. Our kids deserve to, we don't have to be rich, but we can be clean. That's true. We can be clean. I mean, when you walk into a school bathroom, it all smells like pine salt. It all smells like bleach. It all not smell like things that have been on the floor for weeks and never been mopped. Then also, there were some issues with money. Now, this person I trust with my life, I was not stealing money. However, couldn't manage money. Couldn't say no to people saying, hey, can we write a check for $500 for this? Can you write a check for that? Okay. I trust him with my own bank account, but I couldn't trust him with school funds. So that required an immediate, we've got to make change. All right. So you play it case by case. You play it from the standpoint of what is critical, what's urgent, and what can you stand and say, okay, let's give this person an opportunity. Let's see what this person can actually do. Because again, if you're planning on firing your way to success, you failed. It's just that simple. You have failed. It's about building trust. It's about building relationships. It's about people being comfortable with you. You don't have to be their friend. People don't even have to like you, but if they respect you, they'll work for you. Okay, I think I've provided time when you had to repurpose an employee will move budget. And I think I've answered that first part. I don't know if it was as clear as you would like. But,
No, that was great. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Any follow-up, Mr. Fisher?
No.
Okay, great. Mr. Mill?
We all understand that job satisfaction is a key to retaining our employees long term. Aside of pay increase, how could you positively impact staff job security?
It's gonna sound like a broken record. Used to, I had teachers that were pals. They did things together, they knew each other. It would be a math teacher and an English teacher, or, you know. When we started the process of PLCs, when we started that process of teachers working collaboratively with same subject area taught, the thing I noticed was the groups changed. They were still friends, they still talked after school, but when I would be walking in the hall, what I noticed was math teachers who had never talked before are now talking. I noticed English teachers that had never talked before, they're now talking. And I'm getting that question, of, have you given that common assessment yet? I haven't yet. How are you gonna do that? And that's when I knew we're making progress. That's when I knew teachers are working together. And when teachers feel satisfaction, we've got teachers, you've got them right here. You've got teachers right here that you can take away all the technology. You can give them a stick and some clean dirt and give them some kids and they'll teach them. Because that's their passion, that's what they want to do. Now, don't get me wrong, the technology helps and everything else helps. But if you let those teachers feel that satisfaction of being able to make a difference in a child's life and feel like they have some sort of communication to the leadership team, then it's amazing what they'll do for you. No one went in education to get rich. I honestly don't know that there's any college of education out there saying, man, if you just come be a teacher, you would be able to retire in 10 years. The people that this generally draws, the good people, the people running for the right reasons, are doing it to help other people. They don't expect to be rich. They really isn't about their job responsibility and the satisfaction they get from that doesn't come from money. It comes from being basically acknowledged, hey, great job. By the way, that school I told you about, that quite honestly was just filthy. I called that person. I called that person from State Park. I said, okay, you made a big statement when you walked out. That's why I was superintendent there. But I expect you back. I expect you to come back. And she's been back 7 times since then. Because that school is clean, kids are learning, they're enjoying being there. They had the first book fair that they've had in over 10 years. Had a first grandparents' day that they've had in over 10 years. And I walked into a complete total fiasco. They had set up one little cash register in the library. And I had these elderly grandparents stacked all the way around the corner, out the door, and down the sidewalk. And nobody was upset. They were proud to be there. They were proud to be able to celebrate their children. They were proud that we were making differences in the school. So I hope that answers your question.
Right, any follow-up? Reverend Harris?
All right, Mr. Spring, what will you do to increase dual enrollment in Jump Start?
I was so wanting that question. I was so wanting it. When I first went to Farmville High School, we had about 7 kids taking classes by computer in an old converted book room. And they got 6 hours of credit. When I left Union Parish, we had 77 kids that on average got 18 hours of dual enrollment. And this is how we did it. I found the teachers that had masters, starting with college algebra. Had teachers that had masters from Louisiana Tech in mathematics. And she was able to teach college algebra. For some crazy reason, Tech let her teach psychology. So that's where we started. We started with algebra, college trig, and psychology. Then we're able to get an English teacher, certified. So that process carried through till we had several different teachers. One teacher actually said, okay, I'll go back to Tech and get my master's in social studies so we can teach college history. He is now about to finish up his PhD. He didn't stop his master's, he just continued. One of the most fulfilling prophecies I've ever been a part of. I told my wife, you have to understand, when I first moved back to Louisiana from New Jersey, I was not in education. My wife enrolled my unborn children in a private school. They went through their years of private school, and I told her, we're gonna be able to bring them back to Farmville High School. I graduated Farmville High School, my wife did, my extended family, her family, everybody, my grandfather graduated from there. We're gonna be able to bring them back. That's what we're building there. And I fully believe my oldest son, who wound up with 18 college hours, got a better education at Farmville High School than he did the exclusive private school that we were paying through the nose for. We've got to give parents the opportunity. We've got to give them a choice. We're not going to replace private schools, don't want to. Not going to replace charter schools, again, don't want to. If a parent has, I am sending my child either Catholic school, Baptist school, wherever, that's their right, they should have it. But we should give them a choice. We should give them an opportunity to say, you know, this is where I'm going. I started with an ag department. Ag teacher came to me and said, these Perkins funds, where do you want to spend them? I want small engines, I want carpentry, I want welding. So we spent our Perkins funds in those 3 areas, and we got some discounts because of the amount we spent. And I was asked, do you want the money back? Give me another table saw, give me another something to use for welding. And we got to the point, as I told you before, my youngest son, who I did force, I mean, for full disclosure, I need to explain this. I forced him to take college algebra. I forced him to take college English. I forced him to take 12 hours college classes. Him telling me the whole time, I don't know why you're forcing me to do this. I'm not going to college. I'm going to Delta Community College. I'm going to finish up my welding degree, because he was taking ag classes during this time. And I'm going to be a welder, and that's exactly what he did. So I have a strong passion, not only for those kids. We got some kids probably going to Harvard, Yale if they want to. Absolutely. But you know what? There's a secret in life, and I'm going to come back and talk about poverty for just a minute. There's a secret in life. If you can get somebody off the tax dole, they're taking tax, and move them into the tax rolls of paying tax, everybody benefits. It's not about how much tax you pay, it's about how many people are paying tax. And when you can move them, when you can get them to where they have a job, they have the opportunity to pay tax, they have the opportunity to be a productive citizen. There's your answer. So in my opinion, the state finally got it right. You know, we used to have trade schools. I mean, I dated some of the younger people in the room, you may not know what I'm talking about. They had trade schools. You go get automotive, you go get welding, you go. Then all of a sudden everybody has to go to college. Everybody going to college. And that's fine, that's okay. Matter of fact, that's great. Because we do need welders, and we do need carpenters, and we do need people that can work on engines and do things. So I think we're finally getting it right. I know y'all are aware that we're in the process of changing state superintendents. I hope whoever replaces John White maintains the focus, because I think we're in a good place right now with that.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes, considering that each school has unique needs, what do you feel is the best way to ensure that each school receives a curriculum to meet those needs, while also maintaining consistency of curriculum from grade to grade and year to year? Additionally, how will you ensure that teachers will have all the supplies they will need to implement a curriculum prior to the start of the school year? Please include in your response your thoughts on the use and support of magnet and laboratory schools.
I'm a huge fan of magnet, I'm a huge fan of electrical. I'm just going to be completely honest. In Morehouse, we had a magnet school that was K-8. And we were in tremendous student attrition. We were losing kids left and right. Why isn't the magnet school K-12? Those kids are leaving. They don't feel comfortable in going to the traditional high school. Give them an opportunity to stay in the parish. Give them the opportunity. And we haven't increased that. This is the first year of 9th grade. Next year will be the first year of 10th grade. We're slowly growing it. Let's talk about PD for just a minute, professional development. That is a catchword. It is a catchword, and unfortunately in education, we love to fly somebody in here from Chicago, let them touch down, get off the plane, talk for a day, maybe 2, and then they get on the plane and they fly out. And because we never have the money to actually take all the people to the meeting where they're talking, we do what we call send and share. We send it to people, they go listen to the person. And then supposedly they go back and train at the school level, or they talk at the school level. And I've sat through those meetings, and usually the person that comes back says, I'm not real sure what they were talking about, but it sounded good, but I don't know. I really don't know. And if you talk to any educator, true educator, I don't care how stable, I don't care, it doesn't matter, how stable the administration of school is, there's an immediate balk. There's an immediate stop. Why am I going to invest in that emotionally and mentally when next year we'll be doing something else? Because next year, I guarantee you, we're going to move from this initiative to that initiative, and it didn't work. So next year, we're going to do this other initiative. No. One thing I told the people at Union Parish High School, and I told when I first went to Morehouse, as long as I'm here, we're doing this, period. Bar none, it's our number one initiative. Now, if you're doing something better, talk to me about it. Let's talk. What are you doing for school improvement? This may be a touchy subject, but I'm gonna broach it. We always talk about improving the felon schools. For some reason, we really never talk about improving the A schools. Are they second-class citizens? Why aren't we trying to make sure that we're doing the absolute best we can for them as well? I mean, you have a kid that can go to local college that maybe they would like to go to an Ivy League school, and with pushing that child and making sure that they're getting the props and the supports they need, they're able to move on. Here's what to me professional development is. You got 2 teachers or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, but at least you have a conversation of 2 teachers that, let's say, are teaching biology. And they've already agreed this is what our kids have to go and be able to do. So they're going to come together and they're going to write what's called a common formative assessment. We're going to sit down and we're going to write a test together, in other words. And on that test, we're going to check the things that we said these kids have to know and be able to do. All right? And notice I said formative. Formative from the standpoint of if they didn't get it, we're going to go back and redo it till they get it. But here's where PD starts. When you and I decided this is how we're going to do this, and we're going to do it, it's going to be wonderful. And we get those results back, and his kids are going to kick my kid's butt sometime. That's my opportunity to say, how did you teach my cousins? What did you do? Because your kids got it, mine didn't. But that's okay. You have to be honest with each other, because when it comes to something else, say meiosis, my kid's going to kick his kid's butt. And then he's going to come to me and say, what did you do? But where true PD starts is when we both look at each other and say, none of our kids got it. Now let's go figure out what it is we're missing. What do we need? That's where the leadership team's built, where you can go back to your principal and say, you know, we need this, or we need that. That's where true PD starts. And you've got to have some very, very strong people in administrative positions to be able to, because it's hard. It's very, very hard, in my opinion, for some people to share obligation, to share power, when, hey, you're the guy that's supposed to be in charge. So you walk around, you make every decision. No. Smart leaders this day and time, in my opinion, build a leadership team. That leadership team is in constant communication with boots on the ground, other teachers, and they're bringing back, this is what the school needs, this is what we need, this is how we need to be better. So in my opinion, that's what needs to be done, and it will work. I've seen it work. I've watched it work. I've watched teachers who otherwise would have walked in their classroom, closed the door, never opened it again, engage in conversations with other people. All right, I'm broaching another subject I shouldn't, but I'm going to. Sometimes some people are afraid. I'm Bill Boyd. Let's just call it what it is. I'm big. So you've got some teachers that might be afraid to approach me. When you have a leadership team, you got somebody teaching next door to them that has the ear of the administration of that school. So they've got the pathway to get there. Now, no one's ever been afraid of me for more than 1 year, because after that, if I want to see, you know, he just gets very passionate about education. He's really not yelling. We're just telling him the way it is, okay? That's what you gotta do as PD. You have to let the teachers tell you what they need. It doesn't do any good to me to bring somebody down from New York and say, this is what y'all will learn to do now. If that's not what you need, why we can bother doing it? That cover all of it? That was a long question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Any follow-up to that long question? Mr. Trent?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Our crime rate has increased dramatically. What will you be able to put in place to help our children to stay in school, to further their education, so that they won't end up in the street or as a statistic?
This is gonna be a long, convoluted answer. But it's something that I am extremely passionate about, and I believe in. The worst day as an educator is to go to one of your students' funerals, or former students' funeral. That's true. It hurts. It just, it rips your heart out. I'm sick and tired of going to these funerals. 3 years ago, 2 former students, one that had graduated 2 years prior and one that graduated the year prior, was murdered on a college campus in an altercation that we had spent hours talking about. Walk away. Walk away. One of my very favorite kids from Spiritual, Louisiana, Charmaine Brown, was murdered over Christmas vacation. Her boyfriend shot her in front of her 3-year-old daughter. We cannot tolerate violence. You can't tolerate violence. Whatever we gotta do. School violence cannot happen. And if it's, oh boys are just gonna fight, No, because I'm telling you, in junior high, you might get a little, in elementary, they call me something, they call me your name. In junior high, you might get a little pushed and shoved. In high school, you can get a serious fight. And teachers, I've had teachers in the past, ouch, because of getting injured and trying to either just get caught up in the middle of the fight or trying to break the fight up. And then unfortunately, beyond school, we've got kids killing each other. And I am extremely passionate about that. If it's not violent, one of the hardest fights I had at Union Parish High School was convincing the faculty, all right, you got a kid who skipped geometry. Why did he skip geometry? He hates it. He'd rather be somewhere else. So he cut. So you're going to punish him by giving him 3 more days away from geometry? No, we're not doing that. We're moving from out of school to in-school suspension, and they're going to get a full day of geometry. They're going to get all the geometry they want, to the point that they understand it was much easier just to go originally in class. Because we're going to see to it that you get the lesson, that you're going to learn the material you have to learn. We put in something called lunch detention. High school kids tend to laugh at it. Yeah, right. No, this is what's going to happen. If you're not doing your work, you're going to come down. You're going to sit with the coach. We're going to go to the cafeteria. We're going to get you a sandwich. We'll get you something to drink. We'll make sure you get fed. And you're going to have 7 minutes to eat. Then after that, you're going to finish the work. You're going to do what you have to do to prove that you can now go back out to recess, go back out whatever, to lunch, whatever you're going to call it. It's proven over and over again. All the studies show it. The earlier you make an impact on somebody's life, the longer those changes are and the easier it is to adapt and overcome. The term putting kids on the street. It's amazing when you live in one of these high poverty areas that has high crime rates, when the people are calling you begging, do not go out for any reason, don't let kids out of school, because the crime rate increases just because they're not at school. It's a true problem, and it's something that absolutely has to be looked at. But just thinking that you're going to ignore the problem, you can't. It's coming back to you. So you better deal with it. You better figure out whatever processes you're going to do. And I'd like to give schools a lot of leeway in that. Let's hear your plan. Let's see what you plan on doing. If you're not gonna do something, then we're gonna sit down and talk. We're gonna come up with a plan. But you're either gonna take a hit on SDS, you're gonna take a hit in crime rate within the municipality, and it's gonna be a bad outcome for everybody involved. And that child's probably not gonna be the first one paying taxes, as we talked about a while ago. So let's keep them in school, figure out what we gotta do to keep them there. Keep them in school and do the best we can to get them to be a taxpayer instead of taxpayer. Did that answer your question, Blue? Thank you.
Any follow-up? Ms. Ron?
How do we create a community and district-wide culture of continuous improvement? And how would you align your plans to achieve those goals?
Honestly, I think I've already answered that. That particular question, I believe I've already answered. We're going to start by building collective, collaborative teams that truthfully understand. Let's have this conversation real quick. Those tests that the state gives, you may not agree with them, I may not agree with them, but that's what our kids are being held accountable to. And if you're not teaching them, you're setting those skills, those standards, you're setting them up for failure. So you might as well say right now to the teacher that says, I'm not just teaching a test. I'm going to do Macbeth in English. We don't do Macbeth in English anymore. We don't. We're teaching kids how to read, understand, extrapolate information, and how to write coherently. And that's what they're being tested on. So you better be teaching them those things. But, and this is my opinion, none of us are true experts in curriculum. We're pretty good at it. But as far as a true expert in curriculum, we're not. That's another one. I said, bring in somebody, an efficiency expert, bring in an expert that's truthfully an expert in curriculum. One of the things we did this year in Morehouse, we started the process of looking at something called jump math. Extremely exciting. It's a K-8 curriculum, written by someone named John Mighton. He has a PhD in math, and this curriculum came from the fact that he was hired, didn't have a job, he was broke. He was hired as a tutor for a young lady that had special needs. And he literally had to figure out, how do I teach her math? And from there, over a number of years, this curriculum has grown and grown and grown. And it's extremely exciting. I'm not going to demand that any school does anything other than have a plan in place. If you don't have a plan, this is where we're going to talk. If the school's doing great and they're constantly improving, I'm not here to change that. That's not my job. My job is to support them in that improvement. That's the job. But if you're not improving, we got to have a conversation. And this is one thing, that it's loose and tough control all at the same time. Tough part being, we're going to do something as far as the school improvement plan. And I hate that term, that old archaic term, but we're going to do something to make a difference in kids' lives. So I hope that answered that. I know it's a little nebulous, but.
Okay, any follow-up? Mr. Gray, we're at that point now, for closing remarks.
I love kids. Didn't think I did. Honestly. My wife and I had been married for a couple of years. We had a conversation. She thought I was kidding. She said, well, what about having kids? And hey, wait a minute. We talked before we ever got married. I don't want kids. I don't like kids. I love my nephews. I do. And I really love them when I give them to my brother and say, he's been great, take them and go on. For some reason, I didn't think I wanted kids. God works in very mysterious ways. Because if I knew the feeling I was going to have the first time I touched my biological son, I'd wound up having 12 and certainly couldn't afford it. So God, in His grace, didn't allow me to have a child until I was almost too old when you think about it. So we did wind up having two, and financially that's the limit, trust me. I was told you I would have never, ever been an educator. Everybody in my mother's family are educators. My grandfather had 5 brothers and sisters that were teachers. Everybody's an educator. And it was that I'm not doing what everybody in the family does. And I had moved back here from New Jersey. A family member had asked my parents to co-sign a loan on a business venture. And my parents were literally just about to lose their house. So when I first got back from New Jersey, I took that business venture over and got it on its feet to the point it could be sold. A gentleman that I went to school with, went to high school with, was constantly coming in because when I sold the business, I remained there for another 4 months, just making sure that they were going to be successful. Someone that our senior class would have voted the most likely to die in a drug deal had literally turned his life around and was a teacher. And he started in on me, hey, when you're done with this, come teach. And I do not want to teach. Don't want anything to do with it. Finally, he wouldn't leave me alone, and I did. I said, okay, I'll come do it 1 year. I'll come, because I'm a baseball fanatic. I'll come coach 1 year. I'll spend 1 year teaching chemistry and biology, and then I'm out of there. The first morning I walked in class with my kids, I knew that's where I was supposed to spend this whole time. I knew I had been fighting and resisting, and finally God got me in the place where this is what you should have been doing this whole time. And now you know it. Yeah, you're right. I love kids. Didn't think I did, but apparently I did. I really love to see kids be able to accomplish things, especially the ones that didn't think they could accomplish them. I was away from my office. I've been in meetings that I'm sure y'all are aware. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday for myself. I opened an email this morning from Josh Baker. I talked to Josh. Josh was not an athlete, but he loved athletics. And he was always talking to me. Why didn't you pitch so-and-so? Why didn't you pinch it rather? Why didn't you? We always talk strategy. I opened that email from Josh, and he said, after a long time, I finally decided I was going to try to be a teacher. I just passed my praxis 2. Can I come by and sit down and talk to you at some point in time? Absolutely. I would love to sit down and just be able to have a conversation about things that teaching has done for me, feelings it's given me, supposed accolades. I was named high school principal of the year while I was at Union Parish High School. That isn't what I did. That's what my kids did, and that's what my teachers did, along with the rest of the administrative staff. Love kids, and for some reason love a challenge. So, any questions, anything I can follow up on, anything that I've left stone unturned? I feel like I've rushed y'all, and I apologize if I have.
No, that's fine. Mr. Gray, we appreciate your passion and your time. We will be meeting March 3rd, and on March 4th, you'll receive a phone call from us letting you know whether you're moving forward in the process or not. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us and the long journey you've had just to get to us.
It was a well. It was. All right. Thank y'all. I appreciate the opportunity just to be able to talk to y'all about education. Thank you very much. Yes.